Welcome to the Susan Brender Show. It's all about you. Featuring shows on health and wellness, the performing arts, politics, and people who inspire you to be your very best. And now, here's Susan Brender.
I'm Susan Brender, and this is the Susan Brender Show. Today I have a very interesting guest on my show. Her name is Leslie Blackshear Smith. She's a singer, songwriter, poet, author, musician, vocalist, and performer. You know, it's really even hard for me to say all those things, but that's what she's like. And, you know, there are guests that I've had on my show who are very passionate about what they do, and she's one of them. And so she's going to tell you all the things she's done. So I want to welcome to the Susan Brender Show, Leslie Blackshear Smith.
Thank you, Susan. I don't know about telling people all the things that I've done because I actually have no idea what those things are.
Well, you know a few, Leslie. I mean, you can tell a little bit about your career as a performer because you've taken your show from New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival all the way to the Apollo Theater in New York, Lincoln Center, and to all points in between and across oceans. Boy, even that is a lot for me to say. It's a real mouthful. So, let's hear a little bit about some of your experiences traveling around and meeting all kinds of people from all different places.
Well, you know, Susan, I think music is a beautiful thing. Music is a language that transcends languages. Anywhere I go in the world, whether I share a common speaking language or not, with wherever I go, people understand emotion and they understand spirit, and I feel so much gratitude that I've had opportunities to do all kinds of improbable things. Most of the things I've done have happened randomly. There's been no set plan. I'm just kind of letting the spirit direct me in different in different ways. But yes, I was honored to sing at the Apollo Theater. That was a show called Swimming Upstream that was co-produced by Eve Ensler, who some may know from Good Bodies, Vagina Monologues. Wonderful, wonderful, amazing, passionate woman working for women's rights and to help stop the abuse of women in various countries in Africa and just all over the world, and to shine a light on fairness and justice for women. Mm-hmm. So Eve Ensler and her production company out of New York and Ashe Cultural Arts Center in New Orleans put together a show, Post-Katrina, stories of women and women's overcoming difficulties and humor and tragedy and just life. Mm-hmm. That's what found me there. And I got that because of a woman named Michaela Harrison called and asked me if I would be interested in doing something interesting. And I said, what does that mean? And she said, I can't tell you. You have to trust me. Oh. And I said, okay. And it was Eve Ensler's Swimming Upstream. So that's how I got there. And
what an exciting
Lincoln Center.
Leslie, that must have been a really exciting experience, but I want to move on for a minute. You know,
absolutely.
When there are so many songs already written about where someone is from and what events may have shaped them as people, what ingredients, in your opinion, make a song like that a good song?
I think that the most important ingredient in any song is truth on some level, whether it's a humorous song or a laughing at the silly things people do in relationships song or a tragedy or an inspirational song. You have to find something in your heart, or I have to find something in my heart that I can identify with and relate to as a truth of my own experience. And from there, I can continue writing that truth in whatever form it's going to be, whether it's one of my newer songs, Everybody Stumbles. That song is about everybody stumbles, everybody falls. We all want a lifeline, someone who answers when we fall. That's just the truth. We all want to do right
Yeah.
But temptation's strong. We all make mistakes. Mm-hmm. And when I wrote that song, I guess the idea behind that song is that, yes, we all do foolish things. We all make mistakes. We all are blind sometimes. But instead of beating ourselves up with guilt or despising ourselves for the mistakes we make, we have another opportunity if we can be honest. You know, that song, I was looking for water. It turned into sand. Mm-hmm. I thought I had my freedom, but I didn't understand. All those things I thought I needed, all those things became my chains. And Lord, my life was so empty. You know, it was a crying shame, but everybody stumbles. So when you realize that you're doing something foolish, when you realize that your life is empty, you can go, oh, my life is empty and there's no point, and you can wallow in that, or you can choose a different way. Yeah. And I think most of the things that I write are about either trying to find the humor in making foolish mistakes, which I've made repeatedly throughout my life, or trying to find the positive, trying to find a way to grow and move forward, because we're human beings and we all were flawed. If we were perfect, I don't think we'd be here anymore.
That's right. And now let's kind of deal with this. Has your background inspired your songwriting at all? Maybe your hometown or your family, the theme has a common place in country music or in jazz or in blues. I mean, tell us a little bit more about your background and how it's inspired you to write songs.
I think that I'd like to think it wasn't my background, but I think that I have to admit that it is. When people go, I find it kind of offensive on some level that we would have to go through struggle to find wisdom. It seems like we should be able to just find wisdom and not have to suffer first. And I did have a unique background. I was a runaway and became a ward of the state and ended up hitchhiking around the country and making my own way when I was very, very young, and was living on my own when I was 13 out in the Bay Area, and then hitchhiked back to New Orleans, my hometown, and was singing on the street when I was 15 and was hired directly off of the street into nightclubs and turned 16 singing in nightclubs. So I definitely had a unusual background. I think that again, it's about perspective. I think all of us have choices in how we are going to interpret the experiences that we have. And my experiences could have made me just negative and bitter and unhappy with life. And I think that I desperately held on to a feeling of optimism and a feeling of never blaming the world for bad things that happen, but saying that was a bad person or this was a bad situation, not this is a bad world. And I think it's really an important distinction that when individual people do bad things to us, we can't blame all people. We can't take that position in life, or we put ourselves at odds with life, and it makes it much harder to find the beauty.
Now, Leslie, you've written another song, which is I Am Just a Girl. That's one of my favorite songs. I have to admit that to you because...
Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. I love that song. Now it makes sense to me because when you just talked about what your life was like at a young age, I mean... being a girl, that is very, how should I say, it's a very important and exciting way to explain what it was like to be a girl. So do me a favor, just give our audience a little taste of that song and the poetry of it, because every one of your songs, tell me, aren't I correct, every one of your songs is like a poem?
Well, you know, that song actually was a poem for about 2 years. I wrote the verses of that song as a poem, and I hadn't written the chorus yet. And so that song began, if I were a teardrop, I would fall. If I were the ocean, I would become still. If I were, oh my gosh, I don't remember. Let's see. Dry with teardrops, I would fall. If I were the ocean, I would become still. If I were sand, I would become a pearl. So when I wrote the verses, if I were a tree, I would let my leaves fall. If I were the wind, I would whisper. If I were a tree, I would kiss the rock. If I were a stream, I would kiss the rock. If I were lightning, you would feel the shock. But I am just a girl. But I am just a girl didn't come till 2 years after I wrote that poem. If I were a dream, I would wake up. If I were the answer, I would tell. If I were coal, I would become a diamond. If I were a healer, I would make you well. But I am just a girl. And then the chorus, girls aren't wise, and girls tell lies. Girls like me who try so hard to see. Girls aren't wise, girls tell lies. Girls like me who try so hard to see are often blind. I am often blind. And that's true too. You know, we get all full of ourselves. None of us are wise all the time.
Of course.
None of us are. No. And at the end of that song, I am the sun, I am the moon, I am a girl, I am a pearl. I am the sand, I am the dream. I am what I seem. I am the answer I will tell. I am a girl. I'll make you well. I will make you well. I think that when we embrace our power, instead of diminishing ourselves, I think a lot of times, I mean, I've had a couple of unpleasant marriages. I've made lots of mistakes. Most of the mistakes I've made were because I was blind to myself. It was not appreciating myself, not respecting myself, not having intact self-esteem. Yeah. That's one of the gifts I got from my childhood. And I say gifts because I was given the opportunity to learn my value, having lost my value.
Yeah. You know, Leslie.
Instead of letting these, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'll let you finish, please.
No, instead of letting these things, many bad things happen to men and women, but for me, my perspective as a woman, many women doubt themselves just from the beginning. They doubt their abilities. They doubt their strengths. They doubt their ability to survive. Women have children. Women, we give life.
Yes.
And we're inherently strong. Our natures are to nurture. And if we embrace that, we find our power.
You know, Leslie, I got to tell you something. I'm amazed at some of your poetry. I'm wondering if you realize your talent to write is a gift. Not everybody has that gift. Now, some people would say, you know, if they're religious, perhaps, or they believed in God, some people would say your talent is a gift from God. How do you respond to that? I mean, because it's not easy to. First of all, it's not easy to write poetry. Secondly, you know, when you have the kind of life that you've led. I mean, you were on your own. You had to fend for yourself. There were so many things that could have stand in your way. But no, you came out of it a talented and fabulous singer songwriter. So, do you consider that a gift?
Thank you. Absolutely. I think that we're all a part of an immense tapestry that we can't possibly imagine what our little part in it is. And I think that it is I think that God gives everybody on this planet something special that is theirs alone. There are no two human beings that are alike. And every single human being, whether anybody can necessarily see it or not, has a purpose here and something unique to them of value that they can give, whether it's having a optimistic nature, and little children you see that love to hug everybody and give everybody positive support, or whatever it is. I think every person has something that is theirs alone to contribute to this tapestry. And I do feel like when I'm really doing my job, I don't feel that it's me singing. I feel that I'm just a vehicle that is receiving information and expressing it out. And I feel it's a way that I'm used while I'm here, and I'm honored to be used that way. I wish I could be used more to try to make it so anyone can feel some comfort, or anyone can find some strength, or anyone can find some hope, or some way to move forward when things are hard. For me, that's the most satisfying aspect of what I do. Well, and even if it's just to give people a little break from their lives, and so they can laugh and enjoy some music and escape from their own troubles, and maybe it's easier for them to pick up whatever their troubles are and work them out.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's one of the reasons that music has such a great impact on people. It gives them hope. It transforms them in ways they can't even imagine, because sometimes when they listen to music, they even if they have troubles, and certainly today, I mean, there's so much going on around the world that is very troublesome and horrible, and if you kind of put them in a place where they can kind of get away, be distracted from all this horrible stuff, music is one of the things that can do that. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, and also that to find some kind of common thread, we all join together through music, and know that we're more alike than we are different. We share the same. All of us human beings, I don't care where we're from, with all of this, for instance, in this country right now, all of this racial division, I find it so tragically upsetting when people, we're all one people in Syria, and what's going on in Europe right now with all of these refugees coming from this horrible, war-torn, terrible, hopeless situation, trying to find survival for their children. We've got so much division in this world right now. And to me, and some jaded people might think it's a silly idea, but to me, music is one of the things that can help to unify people and express that we are more the same than we are different, and we are really seriously all in this world together, and we're all responsible for each other, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. We are all responsible for each other for what goes on in the world.
Yeah.
A kinder world is a better world.
We're talking about very serious things, so I think our audience would like to know, what 5 things that you can't live without? Let's get a little.
What can I not live without? I cannot live without dark organic chocolate. I cannot live without coffee, and I like coffee with raw sugar and half and half or thick cream. And I'm not. These are things that I just simply cannot live without. I love butter. I think butter is good.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that.
These are all the things that I carry dark chocolate with me everywhere I go. Yeah. And I have multiple chocolate bars, and I truly believe that with enough really good dark chocolate and coffee, we could solve all the problems in the world.
Okay.
Or I can certainly write songs forever,
Yeah. Now, I watched you on the stage, and you're very relaxed. You kind of relate to your audience. You talk to them. You tell them about your songs. You kind of have it looks like you're having a tremendous amount of fun. Now, not every singer can do that, because some of them, they say, when I've interviewed them, they say, just before getting on stage, their nerves, oh my God, they're shaking, they're afraid to go on stage. But you're very relaxed. What do you attribute to that?
I feel very comfortable on stage, and that is a product of my unique childhood, actually. When I started singing for large audiences on stage, I felt so safe and comfortable with the bright light and on a stage with, I hate to say it like this, but with a bunch of witnesses. If you're in the light with a bunch of witnesses, no one can do anything bad to you because there are witnesses. And so I felt safer on stage in front of a whole ton of people than I felt in a small room with just a couple of people where something bad could happen and there weren't any witnesses.
Yeah, right.
It was a backward blessing from having a strange childhood when I was singing at Lincoln Center and at the Apollo and all these types of Mahalia Jackson Theater in New Orleans. I've done live national television in Costa Rica and other places, and I feel perfectly at home as long as there are a bunch of people, not just a handful.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. Now, what's your motto or the advice you live by? Because I think now that you've been on this earth, let's just say that for quite some time, you're pretty young, but still you've been here for a lot. What's your motto and advice that you live by?
I always try to find the lesson in everything. When things are difficult, I go, this is good because, and I try to find why it's good. Because I really believe that every experience is an opportunity to learn something, to grow. And if you look at life that way, you can take that experiences as presents from the universe to teach you something. Nothing is wasted. Nothing. If you look at everything, what can I learn from this? How can I not? If it's bad, how can I not be in this situation again? How did I get myself here? What can I learn?
Yeah.
I think that always, I'm addicted to learning. I'm addicted to learning and understanding, and I'm always intrigued by anything that I didn't know. I love when I think I know something and somebody corrects me, and I'll research it and go, oh my God, you're right, that's awesome. I learned something. And I think that I have 2 children. I think that the greatest gift that I gave them perhaps was the teaching them how to learn.
Yeah.
How to not be afraid of not knowing. Everyone feels so challenged about not knowing things, and these days, people make fun of each other for not knowing things. And I told them when they were very young, if you ever ask someone a question because you don't know, and they make fun of you or try to make you feel bad for not knowing, that means that they're intimidated by you.
Yeah.
Or they're insecure.
Yeah.
And don't ever be afraid of asking, ever.
Yeah, that's a good point. Now,
that's it to me, is my motto, just learn.
Learn.
And this is good. This is good. Why? Why is this wonderful?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Find why it's wonderful. The sound went out. Why is this wonderful? Well, because I'm going to walk down into the crowd and just sing to everyone personally. The lights went out. Why is this wonderful? Well, because I'm going to sing with no amplification like I used to do on the street when I was a kid, and I can do that. That's why this is wonderful.
Yeah. Now, for our listeners who've never heard your music, and now they have, actually, because you sang some of it, but nevertheless, for our readers, as I said, who've never heard your music, explain your sound in 5 words. Can you do that?
5 words. Soulful, original, music of the heart. Maybe. I don't know. I've never tried to do that. So that was a very good learning for me. I'm going to try to see if I can sum myself up in 5 words.
Yeah. Well, you don't have to sum yourself up, but I'm just...
Well, I mean, to me, summing the music up is summing myself up. I write in so many different styles. I try to write things from life. But I think everybody does. I think all songs are about everything. Yeah. Because songs that have fear or anger or, all that's about love. Songs that have longing, whether it's for in a relationship or God or to travel or, it's all about love. I want to do this. I have, about passion.
Yeah, passion.
And passion.
Yeah, that's the key word.
To me, passion and love are the same,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Now, if okay, so we're going to move on for just a second, and I'm sure you've been asked this before, which is if you could go open for any artist that's touring Who would it be?
Open for any artist that's touring. Stevie Wonder.
Why Stevie Wonder? He's great. I'm not, diminishing the fact that he's a wonderful and amazing guy. Why Stevie Wonder,
He is such a wonderful writer. He's an amazing writer. Stevie Wonder created so many, songs in the key of life, so many wonderful communications, and which it was and still is, although he doesn't perform as much, such a passionate creator. They won't go when I go. There's so many. Blame It on the Sun, Visions. He has so many great songs, and so I said that from the hip. I other than Stevie Wonder, my mind is drawing a blank right now. There's so many wonderful artists out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I was my own opening act not too long ago.
Well, that's. I mean, it's best to be your opening, to be the opening act. But sometimes if you go to Las Vegas or one of those places, they want somebody who's been around for quite a long time and who is.
Absolutely. I'd love to. I'm trying to think right now of the songwriters that I really. Someone that as a performer, I mean, that I really love what they're doing, and there's so many people, but I guess I need more coffee. It depends on what I'm listening to at any given time. Mm-hmm. Right now I'm listening to Kirk Franklin, who's a gospel artist. It's, amazing, and have been listening to some Stevie Wonder, and then I've been doing a bunch of writing, so I haven't been, really, I'd love to open for my home slice, Dr. John. That would be really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to tell you a little story about Dr. John. I want to say 1 or 2 years ago, I was supposed to interview Dr. John, and he was singing actually and playing in Central Park in New York. And what happened was I stood there with all the press waiting for him to go on. And suddenly the person who was representing the company that brings these people into Central Park, he announced, he said, I'm sorry to tell you all, but Dr. John won't be here on our stage today. And everybody, you could hear like there was silence. And then he said, I'm afraid to say to you that he had a heart attack and he has to be taken to the hospital.
Right.
Unbelievable disappointment for me. I was so very much
he's a wonderful, wonderful interview, and he's got a voice like this. All right, now, Leslie. Him and my father were good friends, and when I was a little girl, I had the pleasure of hearing Matt and my dad in the kitchen talking about life, and he makes up words that make sense. Puts words together. I told him the last time I saw him that I wanted to know where was my Mactionary, and he went, what? And I said, a Mactionary. His name's Mac Rabenak, Mm-hmm. I said, for your language.
Right.
For all your wonderful words you make up. I did a show with Mac, with Dr. John. I want to say it was right after that, because he recovered and he was down in the New Orleans area, and we did a benefit for the Greater New Orleans Youth Philharmonic Orchestra, which is a mouthful. And I thought it was hilarious because they had me on solo piano between Ellis Marcellus and Dr. John.
Oh.
And I'm just not that good of a pianist to be with those two. And they're both friends of mine, and Ellis and I worked together many years ago. And when Ellis came in, I said, Ellis, now I stuck on 2 instruments. And he goes, well, Leslie, you're a wonderful vocalist. You've always been a wonderful vocalist. I went, no, I started trying to play guitar, too. And then he laughed at me.
Oh, that's great. Now,
but Matt did come in. He did come in while I was playing piano because we were outside talking, and when it was my turn, and when I was finishing up, he had come in, and he came and he sat behind my left elbow, and he goes, Leslie, your daddy would be really proud. you know. And he said I was a bad MF because he likes to curse a whole lot if you ever interview him.
Oh, that's great. I'm going to ask you, I'd love to interview them. Now, let's, I know we've been talking about your music, your passion, and all of the things that you live by. You know, the idea of trust, the idea of, you know, loving who you are. But I want to, you know, many people have been thinking, I know in conversations I've had with people, they've been thinking about what's happened to New Orleans since Katrina. Not too many people talk about it, but they still think about it. So could you tell them a little bit about how New Orleans has changed, if it has, since Katrina?
Well, you know, it's definitely changed, but we've recovered. I think that for those of us that were actually born and raised in New Orleans, it's been more difficult. We love our city in a very personal way. It's not just a place that we're from. It's a place that we're part of. And so, I mean, I know for myself personally, I've felt hostility in myself with these New Orleanians who moved to New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina, and now they're from New Orleans, and there are all these musicians from other places that are now New Orleans musicians. And I think that it's very childish, and it's something that I've recognized in myself that I've tried to cure, because life changes and circumstances change. But I love my city, and it had many things wrong with it before Katrina. It still has many things wrong with it. Most of our world has many things wrong with it. But it's good that there is a new influx of young entrepreneurs, money, business, commerce. The film industry really brought a lot of business to the city, and then Bobby Jindal, our former governor, was trying to take away a lot of the incentives and tax credits and things that brought the film industry to New Orleans, and succeeded somewhat. But we still have a younger, more gentrified New Orleans now, right. And part of that is very tragic. But then the other part of that is, you know, life is organic, and cities are organic, so change happens. Yes, I know that if I would have been singing on the street in the New Orleans of today, I probably wouldn't have the career that I have now. Right. I wrote a letter to all of the city council members last year. They were trying to get the music off the streets. They were trying to regulate all the little clubs, the people who've purchased homes in our neighborhoods after they purchased the homes. Now they're trying to shut down the little neighborhood bars and little live music spots, and, you know, make noise ordinance issues. And it makes it a lot harder for artists to come up the way that I did. When you start out, you come up in the little dumpy clubs and you work your way up. If you're good, then you play, you know, a bigger bar, then you play a nightclub, then you play a venue. You work your way up the ladder through your experience, and it's like becoming a journeyman. You know, you train your way up. Yeah. Or fall by the wayside. Yeah, things have changed all over the world, Leslie, and some people complain. They say they wish they were back in time, because for artists like you and other kinds of performers, it was not that it was easy. It was never easy, but it was. It's harder to make a living as a songwriter now. Yeah. That's right. Well, we're almost at the end of our show, so I always ask my guests, as you know, what is the last word that you would like to tell our audience? Is there something very important that you think they should know? Oh, my goodness. If you're creative and you want to create something, do it. If not now, when? Live your life and never, ever lose hope. No matter what's going on in your life, find a way to learn and find the positive and find your strength. We all have a tremendous amount of personal strength that we don't tap, that lives within us. And life wants us to do well. So I guess that's what I would put out there. Create and be happy. It might sound even if you don't really feel it, pretend that you do until reality catches up with you.
Right. That's a very positive attitude now. Yeah, good advice. Now, last thing, if they want to find your music, first of all, I believe you've come out with a new CD, and I'd like you to tell them about it and where they can get it, and if they want to talk to you, because you're just an open person and you'll give them advice, I'm sure. So how did they get in touch with you, Leslie?
Well, right now, find me on Facebook, Leslie Blackshear Smith on Facebook. All of my other technology has temporarily abandoned me, my website and everything. But that will work itself out. But as of now, Leslie Blackshear Smith on Facebook. The new record is How Love Works Part 1, and I am in the throes of finishing writing How Love Works Part 2. How Love Works Part 1 is a collection of songs that speak to relationships, speak to personal relationships, our relationship with the world. I have a song called Love Walks With Me that has a wonderful guest singer from the Zulu tribe in South Africa named Vusi Malongo. Vusi is just a wonderful singer who translates my lyric into Zulu. And a song called What Kind of World Are We Making, that sadly is very apropos for what's going on right now. I've been getting a lot of messages and emails from people about that song with the division that we're having here in the United States and around the world. And songs like Everybody Stumbles that I sang a bit of earlier in this show. You can find it on iTunes, Amazon, CD Baby, just all the usual technology places. If you put in the search engine Leslie Blackshear Smith, How Love Works Part 1, you can find it. And please buy it. Support the arts. They're taking more and more little pennies away from us every day. In fact, actually, I want to frame it. I got a check for 7 cents a few weeks ago, and I called my partner in one of my publishing companies, and I asked her if she minded if I framed it instead of depositing it, because it was a printed out physical check with gold foil on it, and you know, in a whole envelope and all this paper, and it was for 7 cents for one play of a song I wrote with George Porter Jr. from a band called The Meters from New Orleans, a song called I Get High. And I just started laughing. I was like, wow, it probably cost 45 cents or 50 cents to mail this thing to me.
Right. Well, you know, you just mentioned the word high. You probably got low when you saw that 7 cents.
Well, actually, I didn't get low. I laughed because it was just so ridiculous. I think I'm probably going to spend $50 double matting it and framing it. Just to give it an appropriate amount of comedy importance in my studio next to my proclamation from City Council. So I think you know, in terms of the arts and artists, any listeners out there that are fans of any, you know, actors or painters or sculptors or musicians or writers, we need the support of people to continue doing what we do. I think it's incredibly, incredibly important to keep having active creativity in our society.
Yes.
When we lose this, we lose civilization.
Well, Leslie, you are an inspiration to people. I mean, listening to you inspire me. Good. You inspire me.
Susan, create.
That's it. I'm trying to do that with this radio show. Well, today my guest has been Leslie Blackshear Smith, a singer-songwriter, poet, author, musician, vocalist, and performer. Great guest. And her music is just absolutely wonderful. And I want to thank you so much for being on the Susan Brender Show, Leslie Blackshear Smith.
Susan Brender, it is my pleasure. And keep doing what you're doing. You're helping us all to be seen and heard. And we need you. So thank you.
Thank you, too.
Thank you for listening to The Susan Brender Show. To be a guest, email sebrender@yahoo.com.